Sri Lanka?
I believe that Lasantha's killing was the final death blow to media freedom, because as long as he was there, he was so fearless. If he said enough was enough, he would do something about it. He would not say enough is enough and flee the country. And he was well able to do so because he had residency in another country. But he always faced challenges head on. We have to remember that in the past 3 years, 15 journalists have been killed. 11 have been arrested without substantial charge. 27 have been attacked. And after Lasantha's death, 11 senior journalists have fled the country. And this alone shows what the state of free media in Sri Lanka is. There is such a fierce psychosis. Any dissenting voice is labelled as a terrorist or a traitor by the state media and defense ministry websites. The defense secretary himself, that is
the
President Rajapaksa's brother, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, himself said that any dissent during wartime will be treated as treason. So what do you expect?
And it's not solely Sri Lankan journalists. Chris Morris, the BBC correspondent, left Sri Lanka last week after that defense minister had done an interview with him and accused him of being a Tamil Tiger supporter. So even international journalists are being accused by this government.
International journalists, diplomats, NGOs, across the board there has been accusations. And as I said, even Lasantha's murder, hours after the murder, the president says it's an international conspiracy.
You chose to go into exile. Was that an inevitable decision? Was it a difficult decision?
It was inevitable at the time. It was. There was no other course of action that I could take. I knew that Lasantha and I have always spoken on behalf of the civilians. We have always had a distaste for this war and the way it was being conducted. And our articles across the board have reflected this. And that was our life work. And it will continue to be mine. And I will dedicate my future to the cause of getting justice for Lasantha and for those other journalists, for fighting for the space for dissident voices. And it is something that I cannot, it's impossible to do in an atmosphere that is as poisonous and as and with such a culture of impunity present in our country right now.
So tell us more about what's going on. The Sri Lankan government has been waging a war against the Tamil Tigers in the northeast of the country. There are no journalists allowed in that region. What are your sources telling you about what is going on there?
Already, I mean, it's of public record that on Monday, 16 patients at a makeshift hospital were killed when it was hit by shells. So thousands of civilians are caught in the war, and we hear this also from our sources on the ground. As they escape the fighting, many have no water for days. I'm hearing that also. The UN has called for a ceasefire, but obviously there is no ceasefire fire in sight. Earlier, a hospital of more than 300 injured Tamils was bombed, resulting in the deaths of about 50 Tamil civilians. In course, the government would feel that they would have relatives or friends in the LTTE, so they could become informants, or they themselves are suspects. I would think so. Only from what I hear from my sources last night, only the elderly and the mentally disabled are being allowed out of these camps, so they have become like prisons themselves. The government has also put forward a plan for the internationally displaced persons to be moved to model villages in Bavunia and Mana, and thus they are being uprooted from their villages where they have grown up, or villages of their birth, and they are to be relocated.
And what is that about? Are they going to repopulate the areas that they left with others?
Well, what I hear is that they are to be kept in these villages for about 2 or 3 years. It is not clear how the government will fund this massive relocation project. And one must realize that Vavuniya is an area where there are multiple military actors now in operation. Vavuniya has become a center for various armed groups, and multiple armed groups allied to the state are also based in Vavuniya. So the presence of these armed groups has made civilian life all the more difficult and insecure. Human cost of this victory is so staggering. I think the country has wounded a section of our population to such a degree that and those scars are eternal. Remember that the Tamils have suffered terribly successive Sinhala-dominated governments. For the media, fighting for space, for dissident voices, as I said before, and having lost Lasantha, it is all I can do. It is all I'm compelled to do.
Thank you for speaking with me today.
Thank you.
Sonali Samarasinghe Wickramatunga is a prominent Sri Lankan journalist. She is now in hiding in exile. Well, that's all we have for this podcast. You can listen to the